Hello, everyone, and welcome to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast. Come to you, as always, from deep within the Outer Rim, far beyond the watchful eyes of the Galactic Empire. My name is John Mark Tolley, and the person who is shaking his head right now at me, for those of you in audio land and looking at me very disappointingly, is Mr. Joe Cahill. Joe, how are you today?
I'm doing quite well. And greetings from the Galactic Empire, may I say.
Well, as you can see or not see, if you are listening to this in audio, Mr. Ray Rumsey will not be joining us today. He is feeling a little under the weather. So we wish him the best and hope that he dunks himself some in a back to tank and gets better and gets with us here next week. Well, it's been a kind of a interesting day in Star Wars land. I just watched the commercial for the what was it?
The Uber Eats.
The Uber Eats. Mark Hamill and Patrick Stewart. I thought it was hilarious. I thought just the whole "I am my daddy" line was.
Well,
What?
they throw the breath mask sound on after that, it might have been okay. But I did like that Patrick Stewart was referring to Darth Vader.
Yes. I also liked a little nod that Mark Hamill was carrying the baseball bat and Patrick Stewart, being British, was of course carrying the cricket bat. I think that was a pretty cool touch too.
Pointed that out to my roommate while we were watching it.
Yeah.
Check it
out. Yeah. Of course, we are live on getvocal.com and on Facebook Live. And I know, Joe, you're keeping an eye out for everything on Facebook Live. And do we have anybody over there yet on Facebook Live?
Any yet, but I'm going to keep an eye on the video.
Right.
If you see me turn my head to the right, folks, that's because I'm checking to make sure we're not missing any comments or questions over there.
Right. That kind of led to another little discussion between the two, I guess you could say, giants of sci-fi fantasy with Mark Hamill and Patrick Stewart, both saying that, they would think it would be pretty cool to do a crossover. Obviously, I don't think it's going to happen.
They both admit
talking
that
about
as well,
two.
that they don't think it'll ever happen, but that it should. It's the biggest franchises.
You got two. Yeah. What's really been interesting to me is to see the response from the fandom when this kind of got out and people thinking. And ironically, I found a lot of negative. A lot of people are like, no, we don't want to see that. We don't want to see that. I don't know if it's just, if it's the hate for Star Trek from Star Wars fans, or a lot of people pointed out that they're two completely different things. That Star Trek
science fiction,
where Star Wars is science fantasy is more fantasy based. It's more space opera. But I mean, I've seen comics done with crossing over the two. I've seen fan fiction written crossing over the two. So it can be done. It's just, and that might be a topic we hit later on. Is a Star Trek versus Star Wars topic, and in fact, I think that could be a really cool topic, not just to look at Star Wars versus Star Trek from an in-universe point of view, but to look at the influences that both had on each other and how because I don't think either one would exist without the other today. I don't think Star Wars would exist without Roddenberry creating Star Trek, and I don't think Star Trek would exist today as it does if Lucas hadn't have done Star Wars in 1977. which showed that it can be done and kind of
Well,
influenced Roddenberry to go
completely
back and make the motion picture.
A new Star Trek series at the time. They threw those out after 77's success and decided to go for a motion picture. Unfortunately, they aptly named it Star Trek: The Motion Picture. I think we could have been a little more creative than that, but
yes,
it was done. They basically took an episode that was going to be in that series and expanded it into the future, and they left a few things to be desired. But it was nice to see it back after so many years.
Yeah, it was nice. I mean, you have the nearly 10-minute flyover of the Enterprise, which keeps going on forever and ever and ever. I mean, it was a beautiful shot.
I mean, put me on the edge of the seat with the 3 Klingon battle cruisers approaching Beecher. I mean, to have it start out on that kind of a foot and then go into the dragged out mess it became. And don't get mad at me, Star Trek fans. I'm a huge Star Trek fan as well. I belong to multiple Trek clubs and I dress up and do the whole 9 yards. But, motion picture, I watch it now. And it's something I leave on in the background. Star Wars 77, I watch it now, and it's something I sit down and watch.
Yeah.
Now,
yes.
Number 2 of both franchises, fantastic.
Oh yeah, yeah. Wrath of Khan is by far still the best Star Trek movie.
And Roddenberry actually hated it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Really? Because it wasn't Star Trek.
Not what he envisioned being Star Trek.
Yeah.
Which is too bad because it was perfect timed with.
Well, this is.
Well, it was perfect time. Yeah. Which is what I was going to segue before you cut it.
Yeah. Sorry.
Into the second episode of the Star Trek franchise way back then. So Empire Strikes Back, which was also much more militaristic and built up, and that brings us all the way around. We're back to Star Wars. Tonight's topic is
Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Today we are wrapping up with a little Sith bow on top of whatever, the end of the prequel trilogies and the movie that kind of led everything that we've seen before led to this. And I think this has the reputation of with the prequels of being the good one.
Well, I always heard it was more
and right off the bat, the better one. Well, and right off the bat, we finally get the opening that you've been clamoring for the last 2 movies. Right off the bat, boom, in the action.
And that was amazing. Yeah.
That
was great.
Right there. Just...
You have no choice but to get into it. And the starships at close range is amazing. The whole battle scene over Coruscant.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that was really the first time that we've really seen, like we see a little bit of it in Return of the Jedi, but this is really the first time actual fleet action with the fleets coming together and seeing how they fought. And you can see, to me, I noticed it was very much old style battleships, coming along broadside and then just firing their cannons at each other broadside while the fighters are going around doing like that. But that's kind of reminded me of like the old dreadnoughts or even the old sailing battleships. They're trying to get into position to come along broadside and then the pound each other like that.
Gain the upper hand so that they can break off from being anti-fighters into actual attack the dreadnoughts as well. So it's all about who's going to get the air supremacy over the battlefield while the dreadnoughts are slugging it out below.
Yeah, it was just such a cool scene, and you're just like I said, you're just thrown right into the action, and there's no time to catch your breath. It's just right off the bat, you're in. Once again, the crawl sets the scene perfectly, so you know exactly what's going on and exactly what they're there for. So they're there to rescue the Chancellor. He's been kidnapped by the evil General Grievous, and boom, you're in. Yeah. So I mean, right off the bat, just awesome start to the movie, and probably the best start of the three movies we've seen so far, as far as getting straight into the action.
Felt like Star Wars. I mean, the others were Star Wars, but this one was.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Star Wars 77 with the, blockade runner and the Star Destroyer, and you're just right into the action, which was a new thing for films. And he, it was usually you didn't jump that fast into the action. You had some character building first. Now, after they got on board ship, the tone for me kind of went down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you have some, little bit of banter as they're going around, going through. I mean, you have that, the scene in the hangar where they're taking care of all the battle droids and getting, but yeah, there is a little bit of downtime, a little bit of time for banter, and I did like how I took care of the two super battle droids with the oil fire. That was very R2-ish, if I may say so.
I had to throw a little bit of that Laurel and Hardy in there with R2. That's absolutely a must-have in every one of them. And then, when we get up to the bridge.
Well, I just want to go back because I don't know if you've seen it, but there is actually a funny
the talking
little the talking where Anakin is talking to Obi-Wan. It's like, no, this means this. Oh, I thought meant that. Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny.
Something that
Anakin actually doing the R2
definitely something that should remain in the bloopers and never be in the film. No, do not add that in the director's.
Yeah, it was still kind of funny.
But definitely we don't want to see that in the film.
Yeah, but it didn't really add anything to the.
No, it would have just slowed the pace
but yes,
down
we have
further.
These. And I think that's probably why they didn't add it.
It would have.
There's so many things that are in,
and it might have got a good laugh out of the audience. And sorry if I'm stepping on you. You're actually breaking up pretty bad on me, so I can't really tell. When
I'm sorry.
Talking or not all the time, but
okay.
No problem. It
I apologize.
Definitely though would have given a little laugh in the theater, especially to the kids that saw it for the first time. They'd have giggled or laughed or thought that was hilarious. But yeah, it would have slowed the pace down way too much coming down from the initial opening scenes. So.
Oh, I definitely. But yeah, we were talking about getting up to the bridge and the initial. Go
ahead.
I'm sorry.
I was just checking to make sure to see if anybody was over there on Facebook Live.
Okay. But yeah, the initial confrontation between.
So that would be Grievous and the two Jedi at the bridge.
Grievous.
Yeah.
Yes. Ooh, yes.
So that's how we're introduced to General Grievous.
And this Grievous, yes. What was your kind of thoughts on Grievous and how they?
You could tell he was probably the first attempt at a Vader. But boy, he sure could have used Vader's respirator.
To me,
the continual coughing and such in a cyborg kind of started to wear thin on me. Technologically, they could have. Okay, he can't breathe on his own. Yeah, you give him a full-on respirator system.
Well, they actually explained that in the original Clone Wars short, the little 15-minute shorts they did, which basically led up to Episode 3 with the it's not I don't think it's canon anymore, but in that one he has that cough because of Windu. When they're trying to capture Palpatine, there's a big fight on Coruscant, and Grievous is fighting Windu, and Windu uses a little bit of a force crush and kind of crushes the lungs he has a little bit, which causes him to get that cough.
Okay.
So there was a reason why it wasn't something that he had all the time. It was just something that had just happened to him because of basically a battle.
Right. Well, I could see that. Same thing. Just increase the pressure.
But to me, he came off as very much mustache twirling villain.
Yeah.
There was, you don't really have later on in the other canon, you get the backstory of Grievous and where he came from. In this one, there was no backstory. He was just someone who was evil to be evil. At least with Dooku, there was a little bit of a backstory. You kind of understood, his reasonings. It wasn't explained in depth, but you had a basic understanding of, okay, this is why why Dooku is doing what he's doing.
And he's got 40s, a reason. He would have had an Italian accent.
He's got,
20s, 30s, 40s, he would have had a German accent. 50s and 60s, he would have been, Russian.
Russian.
For Star Wars, it was a cyborg that was basically a brain and a couple of the internal organs.
Yeah.
Much worse off than Lord Vader.
Basically, yeah.
So he was a Star Wars.
Yeah. And they kind of explained in the canon that he was like one of the first attempts at what would become Vader. This is something that Palpatine had been working at for a while, and that was kind of like Vader 1.0, and Vader was Vader 2.0 kind of a thing. It was experimenting and kind of getting everything to but then right away, the battle ends, and there's a few things in that battle that when they finally get to, I don't want to skip ahead right now, to the big confrontation between because the fight with Grievous, it basically ends like I said, it was, mustache twirling villain with him sneaking away and I got away now. But then we go to the confrontation in the throne room between Dooku and Anakin and Obi-Wan. And yes, the Jedi. Yes, the two Jedi. And I thought this was a pretty good fight. From a cinematic standpoint, I thought, it was very well done. And I loved Dooku's banter, the way Dooku just talks during the entire thing. And, as his way to kind of get his opponent off balance, to, frustrate them. And they actually talk about this in some of the books, that's actually a force power. He talks, it's actually a force power, and he's actually projecting something as a way to help to frustrate and to get his opponent to get angry and to get frustrated.
Just like the old fencers and duelists back in the day, would even Game of Thrones had the Bravos fighter do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see that absolutely. Now, the only part I wasn't sure of, was
and I loved
Palpatine in the background with kind of the, it reminded me too much of Raiders 2. Whenever Indy got in a fight and the girl stood in the background swinging her fists and punching like she was doing the punching and everything else, and it was actually Indy fighting. Just over the top. So I like to think of it as every time he thinks Dooku's going to get the advantage over Anakin, and those little winces are him projecting some kind of force power out there to deflect the strike just a touch that nobody notices. Or
touch, I did like the line, though, that Dooku had when Anakin said the line of, "My powers have doubled since we last met." And he says the line of something to the effect of, "Double of zero is still zero." I can't remember the exact line, but it's something to that effect of, what was the line?
She'll be twice as enjoyable to defeat you this time then, or?
Yeah, it was something to the fact of, he said, my powers have doubled since you last left. Ladies and gentlemen, this commercial break is brought to you by...
I just pulled up the script, which, oh wow, I keep on my phone. I sense great fear in you, Skywalker. You have hate. You have anger. Skywalker, my powers have doubled since the last time we met. Count Dooku responds, "Good." And then Obi-Wan finishes walking into the room and bows to the Chancellor.
I thought the line was something like "double the pride, double the fall."
Could be. That may have been cut short.
Yeah.
Twice the pride, double the fall. Good. I must not have. I didn't.
Twice the pride, double the fall. Oh.
Yeah, and your swords, please. We wouldn't want to make a mess in front of things in front of the Chancellor. Which is pretty good too. But I love Dooku's face when it's like, from Palpatine. Yeah, he's
kill him now.
Whoa, boss.
What? Whoa! Hold on. Which surprised me that he didn't say. I mean, did he? I mean, did he know that there was
trusting in that it would
that it was over at that
another, point? Method to get Anakin leaning more towards the dark side was to get him to even think about it, because it was to me it was a good look of surprise when Anakin does cross the sabers. You know, it was like, oh, he's going to do it. Damn, that's not what I wanted.
Yeah. And you get a little, this is the first time that you get a hint of Sidious coming through in Palpatine. Just a hint.
Yeah, you catch that voice.
Do it.
Very nice. And then, of course, then we get the fun part of Anakin basically getting to carry everybody to safety. Everybody is safe.
And
that was fantastic in the elevator shaft when Obi-Wan woke up.
And I thought it was interesting. I've seen a few things pointed out that Anakin's line is when Palpatine says, "Just let's leave him. He's lost." Anakin said, "His fate will be the same as the rest of us." And all three of them died in the Death Star. They all had the same fate. They all, Palpatine,
he's in a clone body, but he was able to do that force transfer thing.
Yeah, but Obi-Wan died on the first Death Star. and Vader and Palpatine both died in the second Death Star. So Anakin was right. Their fates were the same. So I thought that was kind of an interesting little tidbit of but then of course you have the crash landing scene with them piloting the rest of the ship down to
we can ignore all the laws of physics there. That's good.
Yeah, it's Star Wars. What can you? I mean, technically, there's tons of laws of physics in space that are being, we have space wizards for crying out loud.
Yeah,
space wizards with lasers. Yeah, and the fact that the ships still make noise in space. We still hear the pew of the TIE fighters when they go by, even though there's no sound in space.
Yeah, and actually they get it half right. Because the guy in the fighter is going to hear it because he's inside an atmosphere and his engines are still making those vibrations and sounds to pass through the atmosphere. And just like the guys on the big ships will hear the big guns firing. If they make a sound, they're still going to feel them because that vibration will transfer back through the deck. So they're going to get it halfway right. Yeah. Now, the other ship ain't going to hear you shooting at them until you hit them. Yeah. Then they hear it. But once, and then we get to to landing, and we bring back in the. I always talk like I don't like her character, Padme Amidala, but in all actuality, I have to give her credit. To me, she was the biggest, not Palpatine, she was the biggest cause of creating Darth Vader. And, to me, that was great. Because that's the best character in all the movies.
Yeah.
Boy, did I leave you speechless again? Okay. Well, he's in this movie, so I can really say his name now. I've been gentle the last 2 episodes.
Which we will be getting to that soon.
But you can't tell me a bunch of Jedi don't notice him go running off of the little shuttle over to the side corner to kiss her. These guys, they talk about the Force the good side is weakened, the Force is weakened, or their ability to touch the Force. But I guess their eyes are going bad too.
Yeah.
It's just too much for me. Everybody but Yoda, I guess, knew they were involved and just kept it a secret.
Yeah, that was a... I mean, we've kind of talked about, who knew, who didn't know, and...
we know Obi-Wan knew. We
stuff
know
like that, so...
because he knows to hitch a ride on her ship towards the, later in the movie.
And through the Clone Wars, which I know you haven't seen, but there was confirmed that Obi-Wan knew. There was a scene in the last season of the Clone Wars where Anakin is trying to sneak away to get a conversation with Padme, and Rex is trying to cover for him. And there's kind of a little bit of funny scene where, Obi-Wan walks up to Rex and was asking to see where Anakin is, and Rex is like, he's checking something in there. You can't go in there. No, don't. No, wait, no. And when Anakin finally walks out, he kind of throws the helmet like, oh, everything looks good there in the direction. Keep up the good work. And as he's walking away, Obi-Wan turns and says, next time, could you at least tell Padme I said hello? And Anakin just shoots him this look of oh, I'm going to so kill you. It was this look of just oh,
I got caught.
But that was kind of the first confirmation that he knows. But of course we quickly learned the big news that Padme is preggers.
Yep. There is that.
And
creates the downfall of the Empire, unfortunately.
You say tomato, I say, heroes of the rebellion,
I say heroes of the seditious little twerps that should have been destroyed. Oh, look at that. Yeah, so pretty. You have kind of a teardroppy looking thing on your shirt. Your pitiful rebellion. So then we go through. We get up to Palpatine really starting to play on Anakin. I mean, this is the hardcore mess with Anakin's mind time. I think Palpatine is sending him the dreams or twisting them.
I think so. Too.
He was too ready.
I think it was the same thing. He was too
ready when Anakin spoke with him. About it.
Oh yes. And I think you saw the not necessarily the aftermath, but the result of what happened with episode 2 and the dreams of him and his mother, and how the Jedi handled, how Obi-Wan handled that and the other ones handled that, so that there wasn't that trust there, that he couldn't go. He didn't feel he could go to Obi-Wan or even to Yoda or anyone else, because especially Obi-Wan, there was that trust had been broken. As much as they seemed as they were brothers in arms and best friends and everything like that, there was that broken trust that what is he going to do if I say anything, and it's this idea of a lie on top of a lie on top of a lie on top of a lie. He was already lying about being married to Padme. So you have that lie. Then you have, on top of that, now he has to keep the lie of her being pregnant and that he's the father.
Well, he's the father.
So you have that lie compound. Yeah, that he's the father. So you have that lie. Then he starts having these nightmares, and he's like, I can't say anything about it. So now he's got to hide that and lie about that. So you have this lie on top of a lie on top of a lie. It's just compounding everything, because it's the same thing when you're a kid and you get in trouble. Your parents always tell you, if you tell the truth, it's the best thing. Telling the truth is the best thing to do. If you don't lie, you're not going to get as much trouble. But as a kid, you don't believe that. As a kid, you're like, well, I don't want to get in trouble anyway.
For our generation, I'm still going to get a spanking. I'd really hate to see what happens if I lie to you about it. If it's not as bad.
Yeah.
I guess I'm in the emergency room if I lie and you catch me. Okay. But and I could see that.
But yeah, I mean,
Palpatine just twists it. Just digs that in, and it's probably one of the best lines Palpatine ever delivers. How can I learn this power? And Palpatine,
not from a
Jedi, is one, and it was delivered so perfectly.
And of course, I have to ask the question: have you heard of the legend of the story of
Plagueis?
Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Because you bring it up every other episode.
That's it's not a story. Of course, it's not a story the Jedi would tell.
The Jedi don't tell anything like that. Other than the Sith are evil, evil.
No, they wouldn't.
But I came up with a new twist on something you and I have argued about before, and that was not granting him the status of master. You were kind of that really helped push him over the edge towards the dark side, and disagreed with Yoda's decision. But I think, and it's weird, coming from the Imperial guy, you'd actually need to take a line from Empire Strikes Back during Luke's training. Power. These things are not a Jedi seeks. And prestige, power, all of that. And Anakin put too much emphasis on the idea of becoming a Jedi Master, and I think Yoda slapped him down for that reason. It just had the opposite effect.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are like, oh, if he just made him a master, it wouldn't have happened. No, it was going to happen. Because if you made him a master, it would have shown him his capriciousness, and pushing got him his own way every time. As far as I could see. But yeah, that's a good scene too, and I like how Windu was part of that. With the other Jedi Masters were there, but really only two of them had any lines during any of that portion. And he was reporting. He was doing a good job of reporting what the Jedi were thinking to Palpatine. Talk about inside information, because he was just giving over everything.
Well, I mean, you put Anakin in such a, as far from the Jedi, looking at his view of the Jedi at that point, the Jedi put him in such an uncompromising position. Such a bad position to force him to do what have him do what he was doing. You can kind of see where, again, the mistrust starts to creep in. This, are they really, what's their goal? Being raised in the Jedi, being told we're peacekeepers, and here they are being soldiers, being warriors.
They might have blocked even that happening with Anakin if they had really gone more with, we're not granting you a membership on the council. We are taking you at the Chancellor's word and making you his liaison to the council.
Yes.
Because then okay, you made me a member, but now I'm not going to get to be a master. So there's all kinds of ways to interpret it. That's the nice thing about Star Wars. We all can interpret it our own ways and then argue about it online.
Yeah. That's right. That's what we do.
And we don't have our buffer zone today.
Mm-hmm.
No Rey. So at least
no.
And it hasn't gotten heated. That's amazing.
It's Empire versus Rebel.
Right. And another word for rebels. Crushed.
Hero.
Targets. Target practice.
Target.
Alderaan. Ooh, right to the heart on that one.
Death Star.
Which got to take care of Alderaan first.
Boom.
Oh, yeah. And a couple of good.
Okay, anyway.
So we've made it to him making it onto the council.
Yes. He's on the council, but has not been granted.
And now we've got Obi-Wan off on his own kind of thing right now.
Yeah, he's off to Utapau, and we have the one scene in here that kind of, I think, makes all the difference as to what happens next. It's when they're talking, and I believe it's Kaya Monday has the line, "What about the droid attacks on the Wookiees?" Which then sends Yoda to Kashyyyk, leaving only Windu
and a few other masters
there. Windu and Kit and a few other masters, Kit Fisto and a few others, to take care, to have to deal with what is eventually going to happen, which is the and of all the people to leave there with Anakin, it's the one master who trusts Anakin the least.
Absolutely.
And is always wary of Anakin is Mace
Unfortunately,
Windu.
he didn't stay wary enough.
Again. Yes.
But, Well,
I mean, this is an interesting hypothesis. He says the line when Anakin finally finds out, when Palpatine outs, and then he goes to Master Windu. And this is one of the big what ifs, when they go to arrest the Chancellor, instead of telling Anakin to stay there, if he'd said, "All right, let's go. I'll get some of the other masters. Let's go arrest him." How do you think? Do you think that would have turned out differently, or how do you think Palpatine would have handled that? Because I think leaving Anakin behind, he knew what he would do, and he knew that Anakin wouldn't be able to just stand there. So he knew he had the time to get in a position where he would look weak and he would look like in his vulnerable position, and then he could kind of strike there. Which we'll get to the rumor that Palpatine let Mace win.
I disagree with that rumor, just because of the reaction when it looks like Mace has won, and then Palpatine throws the Force lightning.
Mm-hmm.
With the no, like, I'm going to kill you now with this light. Oh shit!
Yeah,
he can stop it. He's a strong enough master to stop the Force lightning. And
well, I think.
I mean, at first he's definitely playing it up.
He's playing it, and he's waiting, and I think he was stalling because he's waiting for Anakin to get there. When he's fighting Mace, like, he kills the other masters just right away.
Right.
I mean, just boom, 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 they're all dead. And then it was like he was toying with Mace a little bit. I think there's a few times where Mace kind of surprised, like, oh, this guy's better than I thought he was. But I think he was definitely stalling for time for Anakin to get there, so then he could really turn it on.
I actually
go
the opposite. I think he needed Anakin at that point to save him. And that was what was going to commit him to becoming the apprentice. Yeah, that was that final step, and Windu blew it by he must be destroyed, instead of, yes, I agree with you, let's arrest him and have him stand trial.
Mm-hmm.
It was weird because it was Anakin quoting the Jedi mission and Mace Windu going against it.
Which, I mean, I can see Windu's point that
you can't trust him.
He controls
the Senate.
He controls the Senate. This is the only way. Then again, you can look at Anakin's point of view as saying, like, but this is not who we are.
And we are the upholders of peace.
This is not justice.
Now,
peace
to
and
me,
justice. Yeah.
that the whole fight, though, between Windu and Palpatine says to me that Windu was the better swordsman than Yoda. Yoda's flashy. He bounces around a lot. But we don't even get to see him take out Dooku.
No.
And everybody will say, yeah, Dooku ran. But they fought for quite a while before Dooku ran. And I think a lot of it was just both of them were pretty exhausted. Then there's the fight between Palpatine and Yoda, and Yoda runs. Yoda's the one who is forced to flee. So, the only person we've ever seen defeat Palpatine at the time in a lightsaber duel is Windu.
Yeah.
Which would make sense with, his attitude. He was a little more towards, the Jedi Code than, say, Qui-Gon, but he was closer to Qui-Gon than he was Yoda as far as attitude.
Definitely.
And he was definitely a lot more suspicious than Qui-Gon was.
Oh, yes. Definitely. But then, of course, you have, I mean, the final reveal, and this is another kind of rumor, kind of not innuendo, but kind of speculation is, did the lightning physically scar him, or did it, finally just bring out the true self of Palpatine? Did it reveal the true mask underneath? And then once that was done, he was just like, well, I'll just say that the attack scarred me, and I'll use that excuse for why I look that way. I think it did.
I think the use of it, and he put so much channeling into it to try and take out Windu, that it did scar him, because he sure moved around spry prior to, and now he's on a cane and all hunched over. Especially, at the end of like episode 1, we'll watch you with most enthusiasm, and then just kind of jumps off real quick. And he was known on Naboo. He was a Nabooian.
Which one thing I found really interesting is in the new canon, particularly with the comics and the other cartoons, when they show images of what later become Emperor Palpatine, and like hollow, you see a picture like a hollow thing of him, or a picture. He's always portrayed as Chancellor, as how he looked as Chancellor, young and younger and spry. He's not. They never show him in Imperial propaganda as being the wrinkled old man until much later on, closer to Jedi. Then they start to kind of, but yeah, I think that was really interesting. That's the way that they decided to portray him, as still being the young, the younger Chancellor Palpatine, rather than as his Sidious form. Anyway, that's just an interesting little aside, I thought.
So,
but
then we have the fight with Yoda, and then we're down to about 13 minutes. So I think it's time to hit Mustafar.
Yes. Well, we have to talk about one of my favorite scenes before we hit that. And as much as I am, rebel for life, I loved the march on the Jedi Temple. With the 501st, that was awesome. And sing with the music, the kind of a variation of the Imperial theme as he's walking. That is one of my favorite scenes in the movie, of Anakin, or at this point now, Darth Vader, going into the temple and marching up those steps. That was just so.
And then, of course, my favorite scene in the temple.
And
Master Skywalker, help us!
Yeah.
Okay, we won't have to worry about nothing anymore.
Yeah, and then you see the lightsaber.
You won't have to worry about anything.
The younglings.
It's all over. You're good to go. I'm kidding. I did not like to see, think about a bunch of little kids getting tortured and beat up and killed. I did like the Padawan comes out on the air car landing deck and starts taking out clones while Organa is there. Senator Organa is in his car parked there.
Yeah, and that look of just shock when the clones end up mowing him down. He realizes, like,
I better leave.
Yeah, they're just like, oh crap. And of course, you get the famous. We also got the famous execute Order 66.
Which is really cool.
And again,
I thought the Jedi were a little too easy to take out. Myself.
Yeah.
But I'm sure what we saw were just some highlights for Imperial news, because they were, not so bloody and gory, or as you would call it, propaganda machine.
The propaganda. It was one thing. Again, this is one thing that expanded universe, the new expanded universe, kind of goes into more detail about what exactly happened with the clones with Order 66, with the inhibitor chips that were put in that, kind of helped, and how they still had free will. They still, they weren't just mindless. It wasn't like a chip just went off and said, I will kill all the Jedi, but it was, the command went off and they truly believed that all the Jedi had turned against the Republic and that they were now traitors. And interesting little note. Do you know what Order 65
supposedly
was?
The other way around. Was that a Clone Wars thing? Yeah.
The Chancellor.
To take out the Chancellor. But I don't think the Jedi knew about
it wasn't with the Clone Wars.
But as long as nobody else knew about Order 65, who's going to call it? No, I think it was really...
Yeah, it was to arrest...
I think it was just Order 66.
Yeah.
Now, the whole part with Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Did you ever read the book?
Mm-hmm.
The final book?
I have. It's been a while.
It's Rex, right? Gets the order.
Yeah, it's Cody.
Gets the order 66, and he just handed Obi-Wan back his lightsaber. And as he starts going up the thing, before he says anything to the gunners, he goes, I wish you told me that. I wish you told me that before I gave him his lightsaber. And then turns, target him there. Kind of a thing. Because he was looking great.
Yeah. No, Rex was actually one that ended up having his inhibitor chip taken out, which again is from the Clone Wars, and he actually ends up now in canon. He is in Return of the Jedi. It's been confirmed now that they've actually retconned him into Return of the Jedi, that he is one of the soldiers that is on Endor, one of the rebel soldiers on Endor.
Okay, you think he'd be
that's part of the strike team there?
Yeah,
yeah. He's the old guy with the beard. When you see the picture, you see the older guy with the beard. They've retconned that now that is now Rex, Commander Captain Rex.
So I don't think we're going to get to Mustafar tonight.
Well, let's just plow through. Yeah. Well, do you want to
do it at the beginning of the next
make this a two-parter?
Yeah, we can make that a two-parter. Only the very beginning of the next episode, 15, 20 minutes. And then we can do another subject. And it gives Ray a chance.
And then we will go right.
Because Ray will want to get it on the Mustafar comments.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Let's kind of wrap things up now and look forward next week to finishing up episode 3.
There's a lot more in episode 3. I mean, there's so much more in episode 3 than the first 2.
There is. There's so much more in all the movies, really. If you really get down to it, we can go scene by scene, line by line, and just break down every little thing. But this one was
so much faster paced that they got a lot more. They showed a lot
faster,
fast.
A lot more action. Yeah, a lot more action. Even the slow points.
Next, we didn't even really talk about Kashyyyk.
They didn't leave.
And that's kind of something we should touch on because that's a big deal. So
yeah. Well, I'd say we make this our part 2 and go into next week right here on Get Vocal and Facebook Live, of course. Of course, you can hear us on Anchor.fm.
Watch us on YouTube.
And YouTube. Got a couple of announcements coming up here. But before we get to that, Joe, why don't you tell people where they can find you
on Facebook at Joe Cahill, director, producer, or Steamhouse Entertainment. You can also check out some of our projects there on Facebook: Last Battleship, Night Mistress, One Quart Wonders, I'm Always Here. And you can reach me at steamcoffees@gmail.com as well.
Cool. All right. Of course, if you want to get a hold of us here at the show, a couple ways you can do that. Of course, you can email us at warofthestars1@gmail.com. And, someone just, hello, Steve. Unfortunately, you're just here for the end of the show. We're just wrapping things up now. So, unfortunately, sorry about that, dude.
We'll see you next Wednesday, though, right?
Nice. Next Wednesday, 9 o'clock, 9 p.m.
Central
right
time.
Here, talking Star Wars. Central
7
time.
o'clock
Yes.
Pacific.
Yeah. But yeah, you can find us at warofthestars1@gmail.com. Facebook group, War of the Stars. We also have a Facebook page by the same name, War of the Stars. The Twitter account is at War of the Stars 1.
Patreon.
Check us out right here on Get Vocal or Facebook Live and YouTube Live, as Joe already said. Or you can check us out wherever fine podcasts are heard. Patreon. Patreon.com/War of the Stars. We still have the contest going on right now. First 12 Patreons to sign up to become Patreons will be entered into a drawing to get a $20 Walmart gift card. So get on it, guys, and you can win something. And if that works out good, maybe next time we'll up the ante a little bit and get you something a little bit more, something a little bit bigger than a $20 gift card, maybe a $25 gift card,
or something really collectible. I don't know who might have some really cool stuff in their collection.
I don't know.
There we go. Now you're pointing at me. We'll have to see.
I was like, which one?
I have to see which one I have doubles of, or triples even.
But the announcement, starting in October, myself and Brian Miller, aka Brian from Accounting, as we now refer to him as, from the Star Wars Canon podcast, are a after show, which will be done Sunday afternoons, starting in October after the first episode of The Mandalorian drops. So that will be as of right now, a YouTube exclusive. We're getting the YouTube page set up and getting all that stuff ready. So we'll get the links out to the Facebook page, to the YouTube page out on our Facebook pages as soon as that is up. So should be a lot of fun watching The Mandalorian each week and discussing it with our good friend Brian Miller, who, by the way, check out his show, Star Wars Canon Podcast. It was listed in several online things for one of the top Star Wars podcasts to listen to, top 30 Star Wars podcasts to listen to. So definitely give him a listen. He's got one of the best podcasts around, other than ours, of course. So anyway, that will wrap it up here for us tonight. As always, remember.
And sorry, I missed that we did have 3 viewers over on Facebook Live. And of course, now they're gone.
Okay. Well,
I got back to it. So thank you, whoever was our viewers on Facebook Live. Now, go ahead and hit it.
Thank you. Tell your friends. Remember, this isn't just my Star Wars. This isn't just your Star Wars. This is our Star Wars. Until next week, remember, there's been an awakening. That's what's called foreshadowing. May the Force be with you.
Long live the Empire.